So, hi everybody, and welcome to a brand new show here on quantumplanet.world, or QPW as we like to call it. This is a brand new fortnightly preview called the Quantum Compass, where we're going to be taking a pulse across a variety of different energies and astrological transits for the upcoming 2 weeks. My name is Davyd Farrell. I'm one of your co-hosts, and this is
Bella Alvaran,
my beautiful co-host and partner in this work. So we're going to be doing this ahead of each upcoming Mayan Wave Spell, which lasts 13 days. So we're going to be doing these previews a couple of days beforehand. First of all, having a look at the energy of the upcoming wave spell, but also looking at the major astrological transits that are going to be punctuating that particular wave spell. And then we're going to suggest at the end a plant, or we're going to recommend a plant that we think is really suitable to work with the energies that are coming up in the next fortnight. So where are we going to begin this brand new show, Bella? This is something new for us. We're super excited to be sharing.
Right. So we want to give you an introduction to working with the Mayan calendar. And as part of that, we're going to try to track each wave spell or dream spell, which lasts 13 days. And we'll have a look at the astrology and the Mayan wave spell at the same time. So it should be interesting.
Right. And it's amazing what can happen in 13 days. As we were preparing for this first initial show, we, of course, were looking at the Mayan wave spell, and Bella's going to be giving more details about that. But there are also 2 or 3 really big astrological transits happening during this next 13 days that will be running from February the 2nd until February the 14th, which means that the next wave spell will be on February the 15th, and all being well, we'll be doing a preview of that in a couple of weeks' time. But right now, we want to introduce you to the concept of the quantum compass, navigating the energetic galactic flow. And what does really all of that mean? Well, it's multi-layered, right, Bella? We're going to be bringing a few different threads to give you some sort of navigational tools to navigate the upcoming flow of energy from the galactic center over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, so we've been working in this way for a while now with our platform Quantum Plant Healing. We do immersions where we use both the astrology and the wave spells as a container for manifestation. So we're going to give you the keys on how to work with them.
Right. And as medicine people, as space holders ourselves, working with our community and our tribe, we like to work with energetically tight containers, and that's really what these Mayan wave spells are. They're 13-day containers for processes which we can work with for magic and manifestation and healing. And that's really what we want to try and tease out with each and every one of these upcoming shows, to give you an idea of how you can work with these energies in the same way that we like to, for our own personal lives and for our community. So Bella's going to, I think, give some overviews in this first show, so that you can get into the idea of how all of this works. And so I'm going to hand over to you now, Bella, as you set up the screens for this. Right, so we don't use the word quantum lightly. We do perceive ourselves to be quantum beings, as indeed we all are. It's just a case of whether we have woken up and remembered that fact. And by working with these more galactic energies, the more cosmic nature of the universe in which we live, but also bringing it down here into 3D, we hope to be able to transcend 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6, 7, 8th dimensional awareness through understanding that what happens above affects us down here below.
Yeah, it's about bringing our multidimensionality into our everyday life, right? So let's start with the Solkin, which is the Mayan sacred round. And so what we want to do with this is, you know how the Gregorian has the 1260 system. And in this system, the months are arbitrary. Some days have 28, 29, 30, 31 days. So there is no uniformity in it. And everything that has to do with the calendar and time also has to do with our thoughts. So we want to move into the Mayan calendar, or the sacred round, which works with the frequency of 1320, right? And so I wanted to show you how there are 20 energies in these Mayan sacred round. And there were more than 17 calendars for the Mayan, but this is the sacred round because it's connected to the 13 frequencies of life, of everything that is natural and is a normal cycle.
Right, and of course the 13 number is also related to the goddess too,
Yep.
right, Bella?
Yeah, and 13 is also, so the sacred round has 13 months of 28 days. And as we know, as women, we have 13 cycles as well. We have 13 joints or articulations in our bodies. 13 is very important. It's called the number of the goddess for a reason, because it's connected to life and cycles.
Right. And so we're going to be hopefully releasing this show every 13 days so that you can also work with these energies in the same way that we like to in our personal lives, but also very much with our community and tribe too.
Yeah. So once we connect to this frequency of 13, 13, 20, it's 13 tones and 20 glyphs. So when you combine them, you get 260 days. Right. So that is the cycle of how we'll be connected to source and the natural rhythms of life. And it's easier to manifest from that time frame than from the Gregorian, which is not symmetric, is not logical, is not connected to biology and the cycles of the galaxy even.
Right. So to begin with, when I was first starting to work with this system myself, I found it a little confusing between the tones and the glyphs, but Bella today is going to show us the difference of how each 13 different tones and how each day is related to a tone, but how each wave spell starts on a different glyph and informs the energy of the upcoming dream spell or wave spell.
So it's just going to be a very quick overview of what is a wave spell, what is a glyph. I'm putting together the course that will be in our platform, but for now we just want to give you a little bit so that you learn to navigate each wave spell. And this one is called the Red Serpent wave spell. You can see the glyph here in the center. It's a red serpent, a red magnetic serpent. And magnetic refers to the tone, to the energy of the beginning of the wave spell. And it's a very important one. It's probably the most intense wave spell of this 260-day cycle. It's connected to the life force, to passion, to the Kundalini energy, to vitality, body wisdom, healing. And this magnetic tone is about that new cycle. So on this day, which is going to be February the 2nd, it's the day that you put your intention and your purpose, you define it on that day for those 13 days.
Right. So, as Bella said, this starts on February the 2nd and runs through until February the 14th. And do you want to share a bit more, Bella, about how this is going to unfold and how we can start working with that energy?
So the idea of this energy or this glyph of the Red Serpent is so that we kind of end that struggle. It has to do with survival. So we want to be able to start our journey to changing the old paradigm and shed our skin. Right? And this specific wave spell, which I'm going to show you here, is full of galactic portals. If you see here in the center, where I kind of highlighted with red, that's the beginning of the wave spell on the serpent, number 105, and then all the way down. And all of those green squares are galactic portals. So it's super intense because on those days, you have more access to the Akashic records. It's like galactic portals where you can send and receive information. It's very powerful to have.
Wow. So this is an incredibly powerful wave or dream spell to beginning on, my Bella. So we have a whole series of galactic portals one day after another. Now it does, as you can see, happen twice in one lunar year. So it's not the only time we're going to get to experience this, but with the energy that is coming to the planet right now with the astrology, this is going to be a very, very potent 13-day wave spell, right?
It is, yes. And so what you see here is the soul kin. You see how it looks like a butterfly, the green ones, or like a toroidal field.
Right, that too.
And at the center would be the energy of Hunapku, which is the center of the galaxy. And so what this represents basically is the harmonic frequency of 1320. So at the top, you see 13 tones, and then going down is the 20 glyphs. Right? So 13 times 20 is 260 days. And we're going to do one of those wave spells, is wave spell number 9, the Red Serpent. And what we want to do with it is connect to our desires and our passion and embark on the mission with a renewed purpose. So what do you want to intention on those 13 days, knowing that there is going to be a lot of transformation and a lot of help from the galactic or Akashic records, right? So what else is this wave spell about? It's about our soul's evolution in this ascension journey. And what this is like a holographic representation of the universe. That is basically what this is. Very important to work with those galactic portal days. As you can see here, we finished that wave spell, then we have a little rest, and then we enter the mystical column.
So we can show here with the...
Yeah.
So this is the center here is 130. Is that correct?
All of this column is the mystical column.
Okay.
And then we go into another intense wave spell.
So if I've understood correctly, we have this wave spell we're in, and then we have 2 wave spells, and then we're back into another, which takes us through the galactic center, and then we have another 13 days of...
Yeah. So on the mystical column, we review what we
mystical column, sorry.
We review what we just learned in the one we're about to enter, the Red Serpent one. And then on the final one, we finalize the process of like sending our intentions and everything else that you're trying to accomplish in this section. So these central columns, the 3 central ones, are really good to jump on. So it's really good time. And if you don't know anything about the Mayan calendar, this is a very good opportunity because you get to experience what happens day after day on a wave spell. And I'll show the wave spell here. It's like a wave. You could also call it a dream spell or a wave spell, where you start with the intention, with the you identify the purpose, and then you move through the energy. Every day has a different question that you could ask yourself or a different affirmation to work with. And so you see the glyph of the serpent at the beginning, and then 4 red pillars that support that wave.
Right, and so there is a lot of information if you're new to this to take on board, and it can feel a little confusing or overwhelming, as it did indeed to me when I first encountered this through Bella nearly 2 years ago. But what I would recommend is just to feel into the energy of what Bella describes, and just to start feeling into how a 13-day process works and how you can work as a container, and take it one step at a time. You know, the way that I learned was really just to feel into the energies, and I was already deeply into astrology, so I could start to relate the 2 things, which is partly what we're going to be doing today as well, right?
Yeah. So just to start wrapping up about the Mayan wave spell, it's a very intense wave spell. There is intensity and amplification on those galactic portal days. And whatever you're feeling is going to be amplified. So be very mindful of what you are thinking, because there is more potential for manifestation and to co-create. So be clear on what your intention is and keep on that clarity throughout the whole wave spell. The outcome is going to depend on your attitude and your attitude and clarity.
Right, so this is a very interesting period anyway, for a number of reasons from different cultures, which we'll also be having a look at in a minute. But are you going to show us now, Bella, how each different day or each different tone can show us the building of the energy through the wave spell? Okay.
The questions.
Exactly. We call them the questions, or the tone, or what is the energy of the day that you need to pay attention to within the context of the 13 days, right?
Yeah, so we're going to have the support of the universe throughout those days. And every day, let's say on February the 2nd, you could say, okay, I want to identify the purpose for these next 13 days. And that's when you ask yourself the first question: well, how do I call forth the resonance of my true vibration? Or what is it that I want to seed on this at this?
Right, and so we're doing that with the energy of the serpent glyph, is that correct? The
Red Serpent, which is all about vital life force, vitality, passion, Kundalini energy, keyword. So
if we were to work with this energy of just this wave spell and the energy of the serpent using these different questions, these are our daily tones. So this is like a daily meme or meditation for us to put into...
You can journal after you do this question, yeah.
But if we're setting our intention on the first day working with the serpent energy, it's more beneficial to work with the energy of the serpent. So can you give some suggestions, Bella, about what could be the intentions working with the energy of the serpent for people to maximize this energy?
So it will be everything that has to do with, let's say your body hasn't been, you've had lots of symptoms, you've had lots of pains in your joints, your back, You still have some emotional things that you want to work on. So we want to bring alignment into ourselves, our internal system, like dragon lines or Kundalini or meridian lines. We want to be able to realign. So it's a perfect opportunity to work with our energetic body, healing of any emotions, and anything that has to do with the Kundalini to bring back the life force into our daily lives.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just thinking out of the box here, but it could be a really ideal time to perhaps start a Qigong or Tai Chi practice if you're feeling a little bit like your body's stiff and not flexible.
Kundalini yoga would be great.
Kundalini yoga would be another one that's great. So that's very physical. But what about the energetic side? How can we perhaps put that into manifesting our dreams? How do we work with that energy?
I mean, I was thinking about the plants as well, because it would be really good to clear our channels energetically and then go into a daily meditation with this. So we'll talk about the plant that we're going to recommend at the end.
Yes, in fact, we have one of the family members sat right next to us, but spoiler alert, we won't be sharing what that plant is. Well, it's already in the show notes, so you have an idea what's coming, but we'll be talking more about that plant towards the end of the show.
Yeah, so just to finish on the Mayan, we want to talk about how we can create magic with these intense frequencies, because we have the opportunity there. Shed our skin, anything that you don't need anymore, leave it behind. Any shadow work you need to do is a good time to finalize that process so that your spirit can take flight. It's a huge revolutionary opportunity to feel our passions, desires, and reconnect with our mission. And the more people that wake up to this way of manifesting with what is a natural cycle, the more that we will be co-creating collectively.
Right, and so we will be releasing a special 6-module workshop right towards the end of March, where you'll be teaching people how to work with these wave spells more. But if people want to contact you in the meantime, Bella, for a personal session, perhaps to get their glyph understood, this is the best way to contact you?
Yes, so there will be a workshop with a few modules at the end of March. And then for any session, if you want to find out what is your galactic signature, how do you work with your Mayan oracle, then you can contact me at these emails and we can get a session going.
Right, so this is the basic format that the Quantum Compass is going to take. We're going to start often by looking at the wave spell for the next 13 days, but then we're going to pick out some of the key astrological transits or conjunctions that are going to be happening during that 13 days. And, you know, this is a very, very potent wave spell, not least of all because of the energy that Bella's just talked about, not least of all because of the astrological transits, but there are 2 other major cultural factors coming into this too. In the Far East, it is Chinese New Year, and it is the year of the wood dragon, which we'll be talking a little bit about too. But also in the Celtic and Norse tradition, it is Imbolc, or the beginning of spring, traditionally marked in the Gregorian calendar on February the 1st, but actually is really when the sun reaches 15 degrees of Aquarius, which by my reckoning is about the 4th or 5th of February this year. So we are very much into the energy of spring. And what is Imbolc really about? Well, it's when nature starts to bring the Kundalini energy back from the earth above the surface into our awareness, which is why in the Northern Hemisphere, we'll often see snowdrops and bluebells and crocuses. And that reminder that the energy of Mother Earth is coming back up from, we could almost say, the underworld into the middle world, so that we can start to feel it. And for sure, if we're energetically sensitive, it's a time when we can start to feel the external energy starting to pour back into our physical body as chi energy, which if we've been doing our work, our internal meridian work, working with the plants that we're going to be talking about later, but also doing our yoga or our Tai Chi, then there's a good chance that our energy flow is going to be working well and also able to receive any more available chi energy in the natural world around us.
Right. So let's go into the astrological transits for that, for those days between the 2nd and the 14th of February. There are a few very important dates.
So we'll just leave this slide up for a second while I just bring up some notes on the first one, and then we're just going to bring up the chart. So this is not meant to be a full-blown astrology show. There are lots of our erudite friends and colleagues who are doing full astrological shows about all of these things, but we want to bring them into our awareness in relation to this wave spell because they are important, and they're also going to give us some more of the context of the container which we're setting here or hoping to show you. So we have two big moments with Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. The first one is on February the 5th when Mercury conjuncts Pluto, and then we have, I would say, an even more combustible one when Mars conjuncts Pluto on the 13th of February. But those two dates are also really part of a process that is happening with the personal planets crossing Pluto at this 0 degrees of Aquarius. And we can say, on the one hand, perhaps blessing Pluto at the 0 degrees of Aquarius, but on the other hand, we can also say that Pluto is informing these personal planets of the codes that they are going to be working with ahead of time, and perhaps for the rest of this year, and perhaps even while Pluto is traversing Aquarius, which is roughly a 20-year process, right?
Yes. So we had the Pluto Cassini not very far away. Was it 2 weeks ago?
It was about a couple of weeks back.
And so what we see is the beginning of the next cycle or yuga. For Pluto, it's a 20-year cycle. And we see each of the personal planets coming to say, like, high five. Okay, what is happening here for the next 20?
Right. So just looking over my notes here that I've made for this particular day, and this is actually day 4 of the wave spell. Day 4 is always about form. But what we can say as just some sort of overview notes is that this is really a place where new ideas are going to expand out, Mercury conjuncting with Pluto. So we can start to give form using the energy of this wave spell, working with our chi energy, working with these powerful conjunctions to start to give form to something that is perhaps in our hearts that we want to manifest.
The new ideas.
The new ideas.
The new intentions.
So also on the same in the same time period from the 5th to the 8th, we have Saturn sextiling Jupiter, which is also a really powerful kind of ending, we can say. So we're getting this sort of endings and beginnings kind of energy creeping in, which of course is going to dovetail nicely into what happens a few days later when we have the Chinese New Year, which happens on it happens on the 10th of February in China, but for those of us on this side of the world, it actually happens on the 9th of February. So you'll want to check your timings, but essentially, according to the Chinese New Year, starts for them on the 10th of February. And this year is a wood dragon year, which I'll be talking about a little bit more in a minute. But let's stick with the astrology for a second. Let's see if we can just look at the notes for this. 9th of February is actually going to be a new moon in Aquarius at 21 degrees of Aquarius, and this is day 8 of the wave spell, which is a day of integration. So we can spend the time between the 5th and the 9th giving form to our ideas and fully integrating them into ourselves. So by the time we come to this powerful new moon and even new year with the wood dragon, we're ready to send that out to the cosmos to be heard and received and hopefully starting to be implemented, right, Bella?
Yep. And I think it's really good that is the dragon. It kind of reinforces the meridian lines, the kundalini energy of the planet with the ley lines. So be very aware of the earth going through this process as well.
Right, and this is what we find often when we're working with the Mayan wave spells, is just how often the glyph of that wave spell actually correlates to something else. And we understand from our work in geomancy that the dragons are also the elemental energies, they're also the chi lines, the meridian lines of Mother Earth, and so they're mirroring the chi and meridian lines in our bodies. As always, we're working in a fractal world, right? As above, so below, as within, so without, and so on. So what is special about the year of the wood dragon? Well, for me personally, it's kind of special because I was also born in the year of the dragon, 1976. I'm giving my age away here. But that was a year of a fire dragon. This is a wood dragon, but what we can say about the energy of the dragon generally is that it's considered to be very lucky in Chinese zodiac understandings. It also has an energy of honesty and loyalty. But this one, particularly with the wood, is representing creativity and flexibility. So another big bang energy of like, what's in your heart? What do you want to be creative with? What do you want to envision into the new Earth world, right?
Yeah, it feels, I mean, the Chinese have a lot of respect for these, for the dragon, and they see it as one of the most powerful glyphs or archetypes. It's the
really
same
true.
with the Mayan. They are archetypes. And so what you do during that period of time is you work with the energy of that archetype. And that's what we're trying to do. So with the Red Serpent, you want to work with Kundalini, the same as with the dragon. You're going to be working with the Kundalini of the planet as well.
Right, that's really important to understand because this is one of the most creative and visionary of the dragon energies. And of course, in the Chinese zodiac, they actually work with 5 different elements. So they have wood and iron, which we don't have so much in our sort of more Western understanding of the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
But this really is expected to be a time of visionary leaders, innovations, problem solvers starting to step forwards. And I think we can understand why we're going to need some of those kinds of people. And hopefully some of you listening are going to be those kinds of people as well.
For sure, a lot of people that follow us and are part of our tribe are already coming up with amazing ideas. Their gifts are starting to show, they're starting to manifest. So we want more and more people to be doing this.
Right, so these cycles in the Chinese zodiac are a 60-year cycle. So the last time that we had a wood dragon was back in 1964.
64.
64, right? Have I got that correct? Yes.
That was when you were born?
No, it's a little bit before I was born. So it's a 60-year cycle. So this is the first time, certainly in my lifetime, we've had a wood dragon, but it's a rare combination really of the dragon's power and the wood's creativity.
Okay.
So this is a year to really work with our creativity and the power of the dragon. Dragons are super powerful beings. And of course, those of you who may be tuning into our Stellations Pathway or the Cosmic History Code show that I do with Leslie Shankman will also know more about dragons. And of course, we'll be putting links to all of these things in the show notes for this too. So
anything else? Moon?
Well,
Like this
there's a lot to say about this new moon, really, and I've included just more for people to see different types of asteroids and planets on there. We'll be going into some of this in more detail in other shows, but really just wanted to give the top notes, as we would say, for this wave spell, because just looking at this one chart here is a whole show in itself. So we'll let you have a look at that chart, and for those of you who are astrologers out there, glean from it what you will. We've obviously used our local destination here, so ignore the houses and the degrees, because probably, unless you live in Patscrow, not going to be relevant for you. So that's the new moon on the 9th, and then the final, I would say, big whammy of this particular wave spell is when Pluto joins with Mars. So this is we've now had Mercury. Well, first of all, we had the Sun pass over Pluto. We've then had Mercury. Now we're going to have Mars, and in a few days after this, in the next wave spell, Venus will also be having a conjunction with Pluto. So Pluto conjuncting Mars. Well, this is a very Scorpionic energy. Of course, these are the 2 ruling planets of Scorpio. We can say that this energy is a little more volatile and explosive, perhaps, than Mercury or Venus passing over Pluto. It can create a powerful reaction. And really what we would suggest is to be careful with your own energy. Mars tends to encourage us to react first and think about it afterwards, or open our mouths and speak first and then perhaps regret it afterwards. So really this is a time for us to hold our tongue, hold our energy, hold our position. And even if we're hearing stuff that we don't agree with or that may be triggering us, it's a time to step back and take the more Plutonian aspect, or even the ascended Scorpio perspective, which is the eagle's perch, which is our 5th dimensional awareness or consciousness, which is really what this show is all about. The quantum compass is referring to the 5th dimension and above that we want to start operating from on a daily basis, if we're not already.
So you want to pay attention on that day and the days around there to your nervous system, any situations that could explode, and anger or any of those things. So be very mindful, as we said, for the wave spell, because you will be co-creating with all of these explosive energy. So use it for something positive.
Right, and as we move more into this 5th dimensional energy, the words of my Buddhist teachers and scriptures from many years ago always ring in my head, which is right thoughts, right words, and right deeds. But as a young Buddhist student, I often used to think that the last 2 were the more important, because no one really knew what was going on inside of my head. To my horror, many years later, as a quantum plant alchemist and medicine man and shamanic person, I realized that what goes on inside of my head is super powerful and can actually really affect other people also. So for those of you who understand about energy exchange, this is a time for us to be really careful about what we are thinking about. Keep our vibrations high, particularly in relation to other people. Don't be thinking judgmental thoughts about people. Maybe they're going through something that we don't understand, so let's not judge them for the moment that they're in, because it may just be temporary, and we all have a bad day, right, Bella? So we wouldn't want people to judge our life story on a bad day. So keep those things in mind. Also, rest and sleep could be a little bit difficult, could be a lot of energy flying around in the body. So again, coming back to those grounding physical practices, Kundalini yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, any of those practices that really get the energy flowing around the body, but also settle it down, are going to be important.
So, and what we want to do with giving you a little bit of the astrology so that you pay attention to where is all of this activity happening, what house of your birth chart, and so that we can just track where area of my life is being activated at this point, and where do I need to be more careful or mindful of what I do, what I say, what I'm thinking, who I'm relating to, all of those things.
Right. And, if we think of ourselves as being this kind of bundle of energy, really, which we can either contain within a self-circulating system so that it benefits us, keeps replenishing us, keeps revitalizing us, or perhaps if we see ourselves as some sort of broken system where the energy is going away from us because we're blurting, we're not necessarily managing our energy fields, not managing our emotions as well as perhaps we might, there's a chance that that energy will go outside of our space and perhaps into other people's. Maybe we don't really want to do that. Maybe they're already suffering enough themselves. And maybe we just really want to keep our energy for ourselves in this way and keep it circulating through, because we do need to be physically and energetically strong throughout 2024. That's absolutely something that we are seeing, and many other channels and spiritual people are saying too.
Yes. And let's go to the third part of the show, which is the plant.
Right. So we have here in the background, it's not just a prop. This is actually Artemisia from Mexico. It's basically Artemisia ludovinciana subspecies mexicana, which is a fancy way of saying Mexican wormwood. So it's not exactly the same as mugwort, but this is energetically very, very similar. I've worked with this plant in similar ways to mugwort. I find it actually more similar to the mugwort part of the Artemisia family rather than the wormwood part, and I'll share a bit more about that in a minute. But why mugwort and why now? Well, this plant, for those of you who know anything about Eastern medicine, will know that Chinese mugwort, moxa, is used in the ancient practice of moxibustion, which is really a combination of acupuncture and small moxa sticks or compressed moxa flowers or mugwort flowers being burnt over the end of the acupuncture needle, so that heat and the medicine then goes directly into our meridian system. And what the reason they do that rather is because the mugwort was found to be, when it burns, the plant that is closest to the natural human body temperature. So why would we use this? Well, I'm a big fan of moxibustion. I've had it many times. I love mugwort. It's one of my oldest plant allies and friends. But really this plant and the practice of moxibustion can start to move stagnant or cold energy in the body around the system. So what this can do is really fire up the system, and particularly if we're engaging in a Kundalini yoga practice or Tai Chi or Qigong or something like this, it's going to really fire up and move all of the energy, all of the Qi, all of the serpent energy through our bodies, and actually make sure that we're fit and healthy. But most of all, I think that it's going to really give our immune system a lift. And again, I think that that's going to be a big theme for 2024.
And you could use this plant as a tincture, in tea, as an essence. There are many different ways of using it, not only the moxibustion.
Right. So, there are over 400 different species within the Artemisia family. We have done a lot of work in our sister site, quantumplанthealing.com, where we've taken people through a big Artemisia immersion. I will be focusing again a little bit later in February on the need to cleanse parasitic energies, working with mugwort sister wormwood. But mugwort herself is also very good at removing physical parasites from our gut, but also some energetic parasites. And for sure, again, 2024, I think, is a year when we're going to be looking at removing parasitic energies from our bodies and our physical fields, things that are not serving us and perhaps might even be doing the opposite and actually taking our life force away from us. So we don't want that to happen. But mugwort really, I think, also has an amazing capacity for alignment or realignment. Now, I've seen this happen actually a number of times in retreats. It's far out, but people have come in with back issues. They've done some work with mugwort during a retreat, and within a couple of hours of taking the medicine, I've even seen somebody go, "Oh my gosh, my back just cracked." And wow, I'm pain-free. That hasn't been like that for 20 years. So this is a medicine that actually has a capacity to straighten, align, and move energies around, which is why we have picked this medicine or this plant out as one to potentially work with during this wave spell.
Yeah, so that's very much all that we can show. We want to show you what wave spell we are working with from the 2nd of February, the astrological alignments for those days, and then what plant do we see would be very useful to connect to. And so my final message is be aligned, connected to your energy, detached from any drama going on outside of your field. Don't engage. Try to be very mindful of what you're thinking and the interactions that you're having, and so that you reach that point of balance. Is what I want to finish.
And the other thing I just want to finish on to add to what Bella's just said is that Mugwort is also a dreaming plant, and so we've got the energy of the the energy of energy in this wave spell of our Kundalini serpent energy. But when we fire that up, what it does is it gives us more chi energy, and when we have more chi energy, as a medicine person, that gives me energy to go into my multidimensional travels. But also it gives us the ability to go into our imagination, which is really where we dream from. It's another aspect of us as multidimensional beings. It's our quantum self, our fifth dimensional goddess self, really, we can say. So we're tapping into that number 13 energy again with the goddess, and again working with a goddess plant. Mugwort is very much connected to those energies as a midwife and as a motherly energy. And so we can work with these plants also in our dreaming space. When we go to sleep, we can also drink the mugwort tea, but we can work with it as a daydreaming plant to give us the inspiration, to give us the energy to really not only dream big, but to start to bring that down into 3D. So that's really what this is all about. If we want the new Earth to manifest, that many of us want, then we're going to have to bring our ideas from our 5D down into the 3D and start working together. So hopefully we've given you some things to think about.
Yes, so this is the way we work, and we thought it would be interesting to share with all of you, because those are very useful containers for manifestation, for creation, for healing. So we hope you like the show.
And if you're listening to us for the first time, here we have some creatures wanting to bother us. If you're listening to this for the first time or meeting us for the first time, please do check out our sister website, quantumplانthealing.com, where we work with all of these energies in plant immersions, which you can also access either during as a live one, as we have coming up at the end of February, working with the oak, or you can jump into some of the immersions that have already taken place, as we've actually just been doing, working with an incredibly powerful plant nettle, which was very much tied in with the wave spell that we are currently recording in right now and will be finishing tomorrow. So that's it from us for this first show from the Quantum Compass. My name is Davyd, and this is
Bella.
And we hope that you've got a lot from this, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. So enjoy this wave spell. Take it easy. Keep it empty.
In Lakesh.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.